Once every year, the ban on narcotics is lifted. American citizens who are 18 and above are allowed to take part in the binge for 12 hours. Currently in American high school, Principal Carlson is outlining what binge has turned people into and advising his students not to take part, as it can also ruin their lives too. While he is speaking, Hags is trying to get his friend, Griffin, to ask the principal's daughter Lena to prom. While Principal Carlson shows his students some victims of binge, Hags gets up to make fun of the lady that got burnt while binging. She makes butterscotch pudding for the school and does an amazing job. Principal Carlson doesn't find his joke funny and gives him 30 minutes detention on Tuesday. He must read about burnt victims and people with disabilities. None of Principal Carlson's words change the students' mind about binge. They still want to take part and make that night memorable. However, Griffin doesn't want to, but Hags keeps convincing him and even gets him the wristband ticket to the library party happening that night. Hags then shows Griffin something he built and called the booze cycle. For once in his life, he has made something useful, but Griffin still finds fault with it because it will need 5 to 10 people to make it move and they are just 2. On their way back to class, Griffin is still telling Hags he won't binge. He prefers to stay at home with his and Hags' parents, and do root beer goat night until he falls asleep and wakes up to continue his position as mayor of Virgin City. Lena overhears their conversation and calls Griffin Mr. Mayor. Lena then asks Griffin if he'll binge and he says no, but when Lena says she will, he changes his mind and says he was just joking when he said he won't. Griffin sees this as a chance to ask her to prom. But just then, Lena opens her locker and receives a promposal. After reading it, she asks Griffin if he did it, and he says he's not the one. Lena's friend Becky joins them and suggests Ion Greenstein send her the proposal. Lena is so happy about it and hands her phone to Griffin, to take a picture of her and Becky with the promposal. In the music theater, Hags overhears Sarah telling her friend how she'll do disgusting things with a foreign guy tonight when she's high. Hags deliberately slams into her stand and says he left his passport around their stand earlier today, so he's looking for it, because he will get back to his homeland after he graduates. He then tells them he'll be attending the library party, so they should check him out because he's a full foreign. The girls tease him that he hasn't even been on a plane before and make it clear to him they won't do anything with him for any reason. At the same time, Principal Carlson is in the boys' locker room, inspecting them. He stops and sits when he gets to Griffin. Principal Carlson tells him Lena always says good things about him and he personally is glad he made it to a great university, Brown. He then changed the topic to the main reason why he came there. He asks Griffin where the party will be going on tonight. Griffin promises he knows nothing about the location, but just then, Principal Carlson sees the ticket under his towel. Griffin begins to stumble for words. Suddenly, Hags comes to his rescue and claims he found the wristband in the hallway and gave it to Griffin to hold it for him. The way he spoke made it obvious he was lying, so Principal Carlson advised them to be careful out there and seized the band later on. After some time, the school's bell rings for closing. Sirens resonate through the environments, alerting the citizens that the hour has come. For some, the sound is an alert for protection, and for others it's the sound for celebration till the 12 hours set it up. The boys and their parents stick to their tradition of drinking root beer and bleating like goats. Their parents start dozing off one after the other. Hags place sleeping pills in their drinks so that they could escape and celebrate their first binge. They then realize Principal Carlson seized Griffin's ticket. Without hesitation, they head straight to Andrew's house because he told them earlier today he has extra wristbands. He hands them purple bands, but Hags notices it. Andrew then suggests they all go to his twin brother's house and switch the bands with his. Hags tells Seb, Andrew's twin, that the purple bands are VIP and they're not the VIP type, so they wish to switch with them. Seb welcomes them warmly and later pounce on them for trying to trick him. While they exit his house, Andrew gives Seb a shot in his leg. He reloads it and tells him to hand over the wristbands. They quickly take the bands and run out of the place with the booze cycle. Griffin later removes the wax Seb attached to his forehead and notices he has ripped off his eyebrow. Principal Carlson is preparing hummus for his daughter. Lena tastes it, gives it a thumbs up and says she's going to her room to study. Principal Carlson is a little confused because she already got into Brown, but he lets her go anyway. Griffin, Hags and Andrew then go to a bar to take their first alcohol drink. They took shot after shot after shot until their bodies couldn't take any more. Principal Carlson goes to check on Lena and finds she's not in there. He takes her tablet, sees the message Griffin sent, saying he's going to impregnate her tonight, and starts to search for the place the party is going on. Griffin, Hags and Andrew together with Sarah and her friends are on their way to the party. Pompano Mike makes them tug in some weeds which gets them a little high. On the other side, Principal Carlson is going around looking for his daughter. He enters a house where some women are having their own party. The women mistake him for a man they paid to show his body for them to paint. He tries hard to tell them he is a principal of a high school, but they think it's all part of his ways to spice things up, so he gives them and allows them to have what they want. Before he leaves, they give him drugs as a gift. He chews all at once when he steps out. Pompano Mike hands the steering wheel to Andrew and joins the girls at the back. Andrew keeps smoking the herbs Pompano Mike gave him. He becomes too high, loses consciousness and loses control of the car. Griffin's phone falls when he tries to ask Lena to go to prom with him. Griffin manages to get Andrew back, which goes well, but they hit a cow in the course. The girls start accusing them of killing a cow and ask them to bring it back to life before they can get into the car. They inject the animal with drugs and sprinkle some in its eyes until it wakes up and walks into the streets and gets hit by another car. The girls still blame them for it and take off without them. Principal Carlson is still searching for his daughter. He sees some of his students and asks them where the party is. When they say nothing about it, he beats them up. One of them gets scared and tells him the location. He then seizes their drugs and leaves to find the place. Hags tries stopping cars to get some to take them. Seb, on his way to the party, sees them, gives them some shots and takes them to an eatery to make them eat drugged food. Seb then wraps them in a roll and makes a live video of them, which Lena sees. They run to the fountain and wash themselves and get new clothes. Afterwards, their world becomes a musical as a result of the magic mushrooms and other drugs they consumed. Griffin wakes up at the party in his overall. He starts going around looking for Lena in the crowd. Hags is also present and sitting for Griffin. Sarah hears him and calls him to sit by her side. Griffin sees the guy that gave Lena the proposal and asks him about it, but he says he didn't do that and tells him many guys are after her, so it's normal she doesn't know the guy that sent the promposal. Griffin digs into his pocket and finds a promposal like the one Lena had. He then remembers all what Hags told him and realizes he made it all up, Lena's promposal. Quickly, he sends Lena a text that he's present and overall. While Sarah is doing her thing with Hags, he notices Griffin on the screen. Griffin climbed up the stage to give an announcement that he's looking for Hags. Hags leaves Sarah and goes after his best friend. Lena also sees him in the overalls and goes after him. When Hags meets Griffin, Andrew also shows up and they hug. The DJ sees them on the stage and asks for their team name. Hags responds that they're not competing. Griffin calls her and tells her they will compete. He tells Hags they have made it this far, so they have to compete and become legends. They all accept it and name their team, Best Friends. They are then asked to bring their fourth man in 30 seconds, otherwise they can't compete. Just then, Lena finds Griffin and her dad also appears. He tells her it's time for her to leave, but Griffin calls her back and asks her to prom. Lena apologizes to her dad for sneaking out and tells him she is leaving the party until it's over because she has missed a lot of things in life and won't miss this one for any reason whatsoever. Principal Carlson allows her to stay and opts to be Team Best Friend's fourth man. The gauntlet begins. In round 1, Liquid Plumber, where different liquors are mixed and connected to a tube for a contestant to drink, the Ice Russian team takes the lead. In the next round, Serbian Molly Tickle Feather, Seb tricks Andrew into believing he loves him and their team takes the lead again. The next round is the Valleyman round, where the fourth man has to put a donut on a wild alligator's head and it must stay on it for 5 seconds. Since it's a life or death round, the points are doubled if there's a win. The Ice Russian team takes the lead and puts their donut on its head, but Principal Carlson takes it off its head before the 5 seconds is up and leaves them with no points. He then proceeded to put his on it. He targets it and places it on and gets the points. In the last round, a heap of cocaine is presented to both teams. For 3 minutes, the team that sniffs the most, wins. After a long struggle, Hag sniffs the most and wins the round. The Best Friends team emerge as the winners for the gauntlet. Everyone celebrates their victory and their pictures get mounted on the walls in the washrooms. Griffin takes Lena to prom later on. Hags fetches them with his booze cycle together with Sarah, Andrew, and Kimmy. They end up creating traffic on the road with Hag's invention. Griffin pushes them out of it and makes the road clear again.